Hey guys, welcome to Jay's Flix, a new channel, new show here, hosted by me, Jay and Gay. Also host the Jay's Put Down Football podcast and the Pursuing Excellence podcast. Now I'm taking a turn here. Got another show, another YouTube channel, another podcast, you could say, reviewing movies, TV shows, breaking them down for you guys, letting you know my opinions, my takes, and should you go watch this film or this show. It's called Jay's Flix, and thank you guys for coming to the channel. We appreciate that. We appreciate if you subscribe and share it with your friends, family, whatnot here. And we're going to get started with the new journey, guys. So, this is new for me. It's also going to be new for you all as well. So hopefully I'll have some returning listeners who listen to the other podcasts, watch the other podcasts. And so, yeah, we'll get started. Like I said, this show is basically going to be about I review, watch and review all the latest TV shows, movies that are out now, and kind of give you my thoughts on them, break them down. Break down the acting and the storylines, the plots, the characters, whatnot, and should you watch this movie or not? So, or show, whatever it might be, right? So that's just kind of just a little introduction to it. But today's episode is going to be we're diving right in, guys. We're diving right in, and today's episode is going to be about the CW's The Flash. I had a chance to watch The Flash a couple of times. I've rewatched it. It's actually become my favorite show, but I'm gonna take the bias out of it. But I'm gonna be breaking it down. Of course, this TV show is based off of the DC superhero, The Flash, Barry Allen. But what I love about the show is that it does a great job with the casting choices. The directing team and the producers, they did a great job with it, and I was very pleased watching this show. When I first found it on Netflix, because I didn't watch it when it premiered on the CW itself. I watched it on Netflix, and when it came out, and so the director and Andres Muschietti, he did a great job with this, and like I say, bringing together that cast of Grant Gustin. They chose him to play the Flash, and Candace Patton, Iris West, and of course, one of a lot of people's favorite character, even though he's played multiple versions of himself on the show. But Tom Cavanaugh as Dr. Harrison Wells. Like I said, he's played multiple versions. So we'll get into that in a second. But guys, thank you for joining. And we're going to be diving in. So let's get to it. So The Flash. So The Flash is 9 seasons long. Like I said, it's about usually 22, 23 episodes a season. The 9th season premiered this year, back in February, but I had a chance really to watch the whole show from season 1 to season 9 in the summer, and most recently now. And what I love about this show is that it does it because the DCEU, it's not like the MCU, like Marvel, right? We all know Marvel. They make fantastic movies. They make great movies. Some of the shows were okay, right? But the CW's, version, Warner Brothers and the CW, when they took these shows like Supergirl and The Legends of Tomorrow, The Flash, Arrow, bringing them to the CW network, they did a great job. Telling the stories, keeping some of those same dynamics from the comics. And maybe in some of the DC films as well. And again, like I said, the casting, is phenomenal. These actors did a great job portraying these characters, and you actually felt the performances. You felt like these people were actually these characters. I felt like Grant Gustin was actually Barry Allen or The Flash. I felt Tom Cavanaugh as Dr. Harrison Wells, or Candace Patton as Iris West. Carlos Valdez and Cisco Ramon. So, they did a great job. But so diving into the show itself. So season 1, obviously, you guys all know the story, especially my DC nerds out there. Barry Allen, CSI, worked at Central City Police Department, gets struck by lightning. And while he's in his lab, now in the show's version of this story, Dr. Wells, Harrison Wells, he owns a company called Star Labs, and they unveiled a machine called a particle accelerator. And on this night, the machine is supposed to, change the future and provide new ways to solve medicine and help people cure whatever, all those scientific breakthrough things. And on the night that the machine goes on, Barry Allen, he's in his lab, and he's working on something, and then he gets struck by lightning. The lightning comes in and strikes him, and he goes into a coma for 9 months. Now, time jumps, right? Time jumps a little bit later, and we see Barry. He's in a coma. Like I said, he wakes up at Star Labs. He's surrounded by two of the employees at Star Labs, that being Cisco Ramon, a mechanical engineer, and Dr. Caitlin Snow, who is the bioengineer at Star Labs, and of course the famous owner himself, Dr. Harrison Wells, who had been paralyzed because of the accident, and it put him into a wheelchair, unfortunately. So we get to see that little dynamic there in the first episode, and just showing how Barry survives this, and it's crazy. Like, he survived this. He survived being struck by lightning and being in a coma for 9 months, and I couldn't imagine that, right? Just just like you're in this deep sleep, this deep state of unconsciousness, for that long. That's almost a year if you think about it. So he wakes up at Star Labs, and they're like, "Hey, we need to run tests on you, make sure everything's fine with you," and and Dr. Wells says that he asked that Barry's. Well, okay, well, track back in a little bit. Barry. For you guys to understand this, Barry, when he was younger, right? His mom was murdered in their home. He was, I think, 10 years old or 11 years old, and his father was accused of that and sent to prison. He was believed to be his wife's murderer. So he got sent to prison. So he went to go live with Detective Joe West and Iris West. And he grew up with them all the way to the current point that we are in right now of the show. So I'm sorry I missed that part. Just a little backtrack there. And so Barry has lived with Joe and Iris all these years, went to college and everything, and Joe kind of became his adoptive dad in a sense. And so when Barry went to the hospital, Dr. Wells asked Jay, said, "Hey man, look, we can take care of him. I know how they don't know how to fix him, but we can at Star Labs. Just let me bring him to Star Labs, and we can save your son." Joe's like, "I don't know," and they do it, and they save him. And it turns out, episode goes on a bit later, and it proves to us that Barry has super speed. This lightning gave him the ability to run at super speed. So now, he goes back to Star Labs, and he's like, "Hey." Not only was I in a coma for 9 months, but I can run really fast. And so they began training him and kind of getting him up to speed to use his powers. And it's very interesting throughout these first couple episodes as we get used to this new dynamic forming between the three main characters, here between Barry Allen, Dr. Wells, Cisco Ramon, the four main characters rather. And Caitlin Snow, right? So yeah, Caitlin, Barry, Dr. Wells, and Cisco. And they form this team. They kind of form this little crime fighting team. Of course, they're reluctant to help him go out there and fight crime as the Scarlet Speedster at first, as we are calling him. But they give into it, and he fights numerous villains along the way. Coming up, some of the villains I liked throughout season one. First, one of them was the Weather Wizard. It was Mark. It was Clyde Martin, and that was one of the villains that we saw early on. And then we saw, I think it was a guy. He could turn himself into a poisonous gas. It was really weird, But yeah, so you had villains like that. I mean, even a general trying to obtain, Plastique later on in the season, who was a woman who could turn herself into a bomb. So it was they ran into a lot of these metahumans, as they were called, and they began locking them up in the pipeline or where the particle accelerator was originally held, making it into a makeshift prison. They turned it into a makeshift prison. They kept all the villains there, and it was just really interesting to see that, throughout the first season. And later on, the man in yellow, the man who supposedly killed supposedly killed Nora Allen, Barry's mother, as he saw this yellow lightning in his house that night. And Barry believes that yellow lightning killed his mom and not his dad. And he believes his dad is innocent. And so the team later on, they begin to investigate it. And this is where we get to this point in the season where things really start to pick up. Now we're not really going from different villains from each episode, from stuff like that, but it's more so this beginning storyline of they're trying to find out who this man in the yellow suit is, who is this mysterious speedster who also has super speed, and they're trying to figure out who that is. And Joe and Cisco, are trying to figure that out, and so yeah, so that we move on to that aspect of it. Caitlin Snow dealing with her own demons as well. We're introduced about to her former husband, her fiance rather, Ronnie Raymond, who was supposedly killed in a particle accelerator blast, but turns out he survived. Just got transformed into a fire monster called Firestorm, that has to merge with someone else called with the Professor Martin Stein. You guys probably know him from the DC's Legends of Tomorrow. For my again DC nerds out there. Yeah, so that was pretty interesting, and I really liked how they included the different characters and the actors they chose to portray them. It was very interesting to see how they did that. And we're introduced to the Arrow. He makes a couple appearances on the show as well. Oliver Queen. But he also has his own show on the CW, which is also on Netflix now as well, called Arrow. So you guys can check that out too. But it's what I love about the Flash is that, man, season 1 built up so much suspense and tension. Like you're rooting for this cast to find out who is this yellow man, who we later come to know is the Reverse Flash, as he's called, the Reverse Flash. He comes back a couple of times, and they're trying to figure out who is this guy, and what does he want, and they know that he killed he killed Nora Allen. But now Dr. Wells and Cisco, Barry, Joe, they're trying to figure out who he is. And later, Joe comes to the suspicion that Dr. Wells may be hiding some things. He may not be telling the truth. And they soon come to the assumption that he is indeed the Reverse Flash. And that he's been lying to everybody this whole time. Turns out they were right. And, it turns out they were right. And he isn't paralyzed. He's been faking that this whole time. He is indeed the man who killed Barry's mother, but his real name has turned out to be Eobard Thawne, time traveling speedster from the future, and he has come back to this time to kill Barry. He came back to kill him originally when he was a young boy, but he ended up killing his mother, and he was stuck in the timeline because his powers weren't working. So he pretended to be Harrison Wells, took his identity, made the particle accelerator explosion to turn Barry into the Flash, because the only way that Dr. Wells will be able to get back to his time, Eobard Thawne, the only way that Eobard Thawne will be able to get back to his time was with the Flash. And so that's how that happened. And basically, Iris's boyfriend, who is a detective, Eddie Thawne, he tries to be a hero, sacrifices himself to erase Eobard out of existence, which they do. But, we come to later know that, that it's the whole true. And, the next couple of seasons, they only got better. Season 2, of course, the team is trying to recover from that. Barry's kind of taken over at Star Labs. He now owns Star Labs. Eobard gave it to him through his will. And so now you got the team. Iris is kind of part of the team now. Joe's still on it there. He's a part of the team. And then a couple episodes into season 2, they meet a new Harrison Wells from Earth 2. So Dr. Harrison Wells of Earth 2, which, the multiverse does exist in this universe on the CW here within these shows. And he's come from another Earth because he's hunting down a metahuman speedster called Zoom. He comes to Earth and he's seeking the Flash's help. So Tom Cavanaugh, man, what I love about Tom Cavanaugh in this show is that he shows you the range he has as an actor. He's able to play multiple versions of the same character, but it's like it's doppelgangers, it's his clones, his copies. So he, I mean, did a great job portraying the season one Dr. Wells, Eobard, who was Eobard Thawne in disguise, and then we moved to see Harrison Wells of Another Earth come in. He's kind of this abrasive, kind of cold, grumpy type of guy. He's like, hey, blah blah blah. I'm here to catch Zoom, and I need your help, Flash. And no emotion. Like he's that type of guy, and it's so funny his range. The dynamic between him and Cisco, Carlos Valdez, Tom Cavanaugh. They have a very good chemistry on screen, the two of them, and just watching them throughout the show, because the Dr. Wells and Cisco Ramon relationship is always something that we see throughout the Flash. It's so consistent, even late in the later seasons. And it starts really, season one and then continues here. And really in season two, yeah, it's not, so this speedster named Zoom, right? Like I said, the guy named Zoom, he's coming after he wants to flash his speed, and he's trying to get stronger, get faster. He wants to be the fastest man alive. And so Barry and the team, along the way though, they meet some other villains as well, the Turtle, Trajectory. It's very interesting. We get introduced to a lot of new different characters. I won't go through all of them for the sake of this episode, but it's very interesting how again, they incorporate the DC characters here into this Arrowverse show. And like I said, yeah, I mean, we're introduced to time travel at one point in the show as well in this part of the season. Barry going back in time to learn how to get faster, from Dr. Wells in the past. And, and even then, Iris, we're later introduced to her brother. She turns out she has a long lost brother that from Joe's marriage to their mom after she left them, that she had a son, and he comes into their lives now, and so it's a whole new dynamic, with the West family, and and then there's always Barry that from season one on, Barry he's had feelings for Iris, obviously. That didn't happen in season one because she was with Eddie. But, then from this point, throughout these next couple of seasons, obviously they do get together. And eventually, like early season three and throughout the later seasons, as we see these characters all mature, take on different leadership roles. Cisco kind of goes from being the comic relief to a main part of the team, main character. He's even has developed powers of his own, right? Caitlin Snow goes from the quiet and reserved, all business doctor to Killer Frost, the menacing metahuman of ice powers. So I just love how the Flash is constructed season by season. It only gets better from there. So overall reviews of it, if you, I mean, even if you're not a DC fan, like you would like this show because again, the casting choices and the storylines are good. Now, I will admit later on, from like season 4 on, the story starts to get a little bit dry. It's not as strong as it was the first 4 seasons, but it's still good. It's still a good show. And like I said, it goes on 9 seasons, so it's plenty to watch. And overall assessment out of a 10 out of from a scale of 1 to 10, I'll probably give this show, The Flash, not the movie. Don't watch the movie, The Flash. That's not good. But the show, I would give this show probably, I say a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. It was really good. I really loved it. And I think you all will too. I mean, again, they do a great job with the casting, choosing who to play, the characters, the storyline, the plot development, and just you see the chemistry between the whole team there on screen, and how they introduced new characters, and still keeping ties to the comics, as well. So because not many movies, superhero movies do too much of that. I mean, they do, but like it varies. But the Flash, this show does a good job of that. So. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend it to y'all. It's a great show, and again, as you move throughout all the later seasons, you really start to see everybody come into their own person, their own roles. Start to realize more of who they actually are as people. And you see the love and the dynamic and the message of family is so big throughout this show. They preach family and being there for each other, and the team's a family. Team Flash is a family. Get introduced to more Harrison Wells versions. Yeah, I would definitely recommend The Flash to people out there watching because it's one of the better shows right there, out now on Netflix. Like I said, it's streaming on Netflix, and so make sure you guys check it out. But that'll kind of wrap us up here for today's episode of Jay's Flix. Of course, I'm your host, Jaden. And we'll be back next time with another episode. So make sure you guys again subscribe to the channel. Follow us here. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, every audio podcast platform you can think of. We are there. Jay's Flix. Check us out. We're new. Help us continue to grow this channel up, guys. It's the start of a new journey, and I'm excited to be leading the way and proud to have you guys stand up there with me. Thank you.